Okay, hi girls. Today I'm just doing this recording to go over a few of the key points for your report and to help you out with some of the tools you can use in terms of tables and figures to cut down words. I'm also going to remind you about labeling tables and figures because it's a common theme I've noticed when marking your drafts that they still aren't being labeled correctly. So, in terms of sections, if we look at this example report, we have section 3.5, 3.4. We're just picking up from the analysis section. 3.4 and 3.5 can go on the same page because they're subsections of the same section, section 3. The table is on a new page so that it will all fit on the one page. We don't want incomplete tables traveling across the pages. But we have this space here, and then we jump down and we start section 4. Section 4 cannot go in the same section as section 3 because they're not the same section. It's the start of a major section, so we just use a new page. But we can start the subsections 4.1, 4.2, etc. on the same pages. That is fine. Okay, so that was my first issue. The fact that you need to start your major sections on new pages. Alright, let's have a look at a figure. This figure is another example from an assignment that a Year 12 has completed, a report. I've shown this to you before with annotations, some examples of annotations, arrows, and also some outlining done in paint to really make it clear for the reader what section of the image you were talking about. So it's quite clear to us that Sedgley Park is this area denotated by the red outline. And similarly, we have Newmarket Pool here. Drawing your attention to the labelling, figures we always label at the bottom of the figure. It needs to say figure and then the number, and then it needs to be labelled with some sort of title. So map of Sedgley Park. Then we have a source, Google Maps 2014, and also an author. I've changed the name of the author for some discretion here. I've changed it to my own, obviously. However, I did not create this image. You need the author because you've annotated the original image. So the original Google image has come from Google Maps, and then it's been changed. So it's been annotated, and so we need to put the author of the annotations in. So, labeling a figure at the bottom of a figure. Tables. Here's another example which you have seen before. This table also has the image incorporated. So we've labelled the table on up the top, tables up the top, table 2 with the title, map, annotations and explanations of the Sedgley Park area. Within the table there is a figure. Figures within tables also need to be labelled. So this is figure 2, Sedgley Park. Google Maps is the source, and Peters, again I've changed for discretion, but Peters is the author of this figure because of the shading that has been added to the original image. So when you're putting your figures into tables, whether they be images you've taken at the field trip, you still need to include the source of those images, and you still need to label those images. So they still have a figure number and a title. So then the author of this image has created a key to tell us what these areas are rather than annotating directly onto the figure. And then they've conducted some analysis, some explanations of the land uses, and within that they have referred to the figure. So this is my other issue, my final issue. When you're including a figure or a table in an assignment, you need to refer to that figure or table directly, otherwise you cannot include it. If it's important enough to include, then it's important enough to refer directly to it. So within this text, within the table, the author has said, figure 2 shows an annotated aerial map of the land uses of Sedgley Park. So they've directly drawn your attention as the reader towards the figure that they're discussing. This is really important The other most common example of how you would do this within your assignment is to, in brackets, say refer to table. So these projects should include developments such as community childcare centres, libraries and adventure parks. Refer to table 4. In brackets, within the same sentence with which it is relevant to, and then the full stop at the end after the closed brackets. Table 4. So figures and tables need to exist within the report in the order of which you refer to them in the text as well. So if I'm referring to table 4 here, and then beneath it I'm referring to figure 3, say, or table 3, and I've got table 3 before table 4, that doesn't quite make sense. We need to label and refer to our tables and figures in the order in which they occur or are presented in our assignments. The other words you can use are see table 4, or you can choose to use the option previously shown where you're not using brackets and you're saying as seen in table 4, blah blah blah, or as is shown in table 4, blah blah blah. Okay, so there's a few different options. Of course, remembering to not use personal pronouns or first and second person. Everything needs to be in third person. Okay, thank you girls. I'm sure that will be a little bit more helpful for you, and you can refer back to this at any stage over the next week. Thank you.